At the same time as drama was developing, some outstanding documentaries were made, studying our land, its people, and social issues.
Theirs was a timeless land, unmarked or divided by the wheels of science. Before the first half-formed words of recorded history, these people made peace with an unchanging world. These were the people of the dreaming time, of a world now dying, a world of ages past, a world of Al-Chiringa.
In a world first, ABC journalist Jim White documented the birth of his own child.
And there it was, a healthy, lusty girl weighing 8 pounds 9 ounces. A tube was used to suck out mucus from the throat and nose to help the baby breathe more easily.
This horse is a worker. You don't see many of them now, but early in the morning, lying awake in bed, sometimes you will hear the distant sound of hoofbeats and the jingling of milk bottles driving away the soft sounds of night. Coming home late from a party, you might see him stamping and steaming in the morning cold.
We opened Panorama this week from a suburban church. It's morning time, it's cold, and it's wintry, and we took this film to show you what it can be like to be old and to be out of work when it's cold and wintry and in a large city. And when you look at it, we'd like you to remember that there, but for the grace of God, goes each one of us.
In this collection of shanty-looking shacks built from anything they can beg, borrow, or steal, love, hate, quarrel, and generally exist some 2,000 Aboriginal families. I say 2,000 rather vaguely because they're rather vague here about family relationships, and one is never quite sure just how many people are living here at the one time.
Carlton has been home to thousands of Melbourne University students for more than a century. At the moment, about 1,500 of them live in the area, and according to a recent survey, another 2,000 would like to live there if they could. Gareth Evans, an arts law student, has been living in Carlton for 4 years. As president of the Students' Representative Council, he's brought several addresses to the attention of the Health Department.
There's two sorts of students here. One is the bohemian type who are happy or pretend they're happy enough to be living in pretty slummy, pretty scungy as the word conditions, and they're reasonably happy with what they've got.
Watch This Space really was the first attempt to produce a local current affairs program in Victoria. Our camera gear and the amount of shooting time that we were allowed to have with a crew was very limited. I can remember leaping around all over the place, trying to come to terms with television. I mean, that was the first real learning experience for me. It was the first real on-location stuff I'd done as a reporter, trying to put television stories together.
Do the trade unions then have a right to say, through our power, we will try to enforce them?
Well, you see, for some reason, I don't know, you must have worked out your questions in advance and you can't be flexible about it. I have already said I don't accept that the trade union movement, that the Australian Labor Party has failed to convince.
One of the things that distinguished what we did on TDT, I think, was that for the first time in television news and information programs, the reporters were actually encouraged to become the story. So, in a sense, the stories tended to revolve around us. We were on camera a lot. It was always made clear that we were personally telling the story. So we, in a sense, I suppose, became little mini personalities in our own right, and viewers felt as if they got to know us through the way we told our stories.
Why did you pull up for me and not the young lady who was only a few yards up the road?
I was going to pull up for both of you, actually, because I've got an empty car.
That's very kind of you. Who caught your eye first?
Well, I can't say, both of you. I thought, two poor things going to the city, so I have an empty car. Why, do you think I was going to get off with you?
Just about anybody that you can think of now in ABC television and in the commercials has come through the ranks, and in a sense we all made our mistakes and learned our way and found our feet on TDT. It was a very happy unit, which is why I think all of us old-timers look back on it so fondly now.
I do recall linking all of the motorcade of the President of the United States, who was travelling from the airport to the city. We tried to give continuous coverage of it, but of course we didn't have enough cameras to do that. So what we did was replay certain things that had been broadcast before from tape. And I was sitting in this very studio then, trying to sort of fly by the seat of our pants, and hoping to keep a continuous flow going. And quite often the director would say, well, look, we've got about another minute or so of tape left, and then we'll hopefully have him in view with our next camera point. So it was pretty scary in those days, but it all seemed to work somehow.
It was a changing society, and cameras captured the turbulent times and events that rocked a nation, like the disappearance of a Prime Minister, Harold Holt.
Really wrong. I mean, you had this fear that it was dangerous, but when did you really realise that something had gone
almost as Alan said that, because I felt it was wrong.
Could you see him at the stage still?
Yes, clearly.
Well,
And this is when I was saying, come back, come back.
The world watched what proved to be a fruitless search. On June 26, 1964, reporters in 5 countries gave 500 million viewers their first instantaneous glimpse around the planet. But at 5 a.m. in Melbourne, the only thing moving was a tram. The reaction to the televised horrors of the war in Vietnam spilled onto the streets of Melbourne. And our comprehensive news service enabled us to cover graphic events and local tragedies, such as the dramatic collapse of the Westgate Bridge. And unique dramas, such as the kidnapping of small children and their teacher from a country school, abducted and imprisoned in a van.